Shalom. Before I get started, as always, I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone while I learn this truth. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the elect out there scattered abroad, pushing this truth on the four corners of the earth, risking lives and freedom to do so. It's the brother Tazamak coming back with a quick lesson. I'm going to call this lesson, By Peace He Shall Destroy Many. Okay? And I'm going to be going into these devils, you know, the little act that they put on, like they have, you know, everybody's best interest, you know. And I'm going to touch a little bit on some history, you know, going into how there's nothing new under the sun. This devil didn't just start being a deceiver. He was set up like that from the beginning, man. From the beginning, this devil's been a deceiver. The scriptures say that he goes straight from the womb as soon as he be born speaking lies. Okay, this is how the devil was programmed. All right, and they're going to continue to deceive until the end of their kingdom. We're in the end now, but literally until the Lord comes back and cracks those clouds, they're going to just continue to deceive. They're going to tell everybody it's okay, go hide in their bunkers. You know, they got underground cities, they're saying now. They spend 21 trillion. They want to make it comfortable when the Lord gets back. You know, they want to make it comfortable in their little hideout because they think that they're going to sit down there for the rest of not the rest of their lives, but until the inundation be passed, the missiles clear up, you know, and they're going to come back and rebuild. And that's not how it's going to work. All right, after they fall, we're going to rule. Okay, and when you look at everything going on in the world right now, as far as like the ports with the tariffs, as far as they're saying like what happened with the pandemic, that's coming back, that's resurgent, which is a beautiful thing. You know, a famine is on the rise. You got farmers complaining, and even people about, you know, food prices. And the thing is, if ships aren't coming in bringing food, that's going to lead to a famine. And even if they came up with a 90-day deal, that's cool, right? When it really goes down, there's not going to be an announcement. I believe through the Spirit, the Lord has the things happening the way they're happening, right? Because it looks like it's about to be the end, you know, but then some will stop it to where a deal is made or something like that. The Lord is giving His elect more time to prepare themselves, because we, you know, the 2/3 you guys is finished. The Lord is giving us a little bit more time to prepare ourselves because it's over. It looks like the elect is pretty much sealed. All right. So, like I was saying, this devil is going to pull out all the stops, and he's going to do everything in his power to stay in that power position. And one of his tools that he's used since the beginning of the time is deception. He'll dress up in a nice suit like this, suit and tie, and just start, you know, speaking lies. You know? I'm going to start off in the book of Psalms. '55. And let me say another point. Because I watched the video last week of Eve crying about the, you know, food stamps being cut, which they said they're going to continue to cut them, right? But what do they give them? They give them a false sense of hope. Don't worry, we only take $100, but you get to keep 300, or, you know, they give them some good news, some good hope, right? To keep people in la la land. But if a walk like a dog and talk like a dog, it's a dog. So if they're showing you that they're the devil, guess what? They're the devil. But it's going to take Revelation 12:12 for Jake to really see. And by that time, it's going to be too late. Okay? The judgment is already going to be set. Okay? In Psalms 55:21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. But war was in his heart. It says the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, because this devil always says everything is all good. Don't worry. We got what's best for you. Okay? But it says, but war was in his heart. You know, even though they say that, in the contrary, they're thinking about stealing, killing, just, you know, being the devil that they are. You know, they love war. It says his words were, and war, all war means is to go against. And who's the main people that Esau wants to go against? The Israelites. Okay? Because we got the blessing. It says his words were softer than oil, yet we're drawing swords. Again, when they come crouching down saying that everything is good, you don't have to worry about that. You know? And it says, yet were they drawing swords. A sword represents destruction. Okay, and that's all these devils do. They just destroy. Okay? They shed blood. That's how they got Babylon, America. All bloodshed. free labor. Okay, so they still living off the riches from the transatlantic slave trade. You know, they did the Trail of Tears, the Devil's Punch Bowl. You know, this devil has done a ton of atrocious acts, man. But they'll come crouching down saying that everything's good. You don't have to worry about nothing. Forget about the past. I'm going to give you a milkshake like Donald Trump did. You know, the Lord's going to give his men, his elect, payback, man. Okay? This is Daniel 8 and 25. And through his policy also, he should cause craft to prosper in his hand. And, you know, this is going into Antiochus Epiphanes. Okay, because when you read First Maccabees, the first chapter, right around the 41st verse, it goes into how he was trying to get the world to be on one accord. He wanted everybody to fall the Greek way. You know, this is during the time of the Hellenization period. He wanted you to act like a Greek, talk like a Greek, dress like a Greek. You know, he wanted us to forget our customs, and he wanted that for the whole world. You know, he wanted the world to be on one accord, and they're going to do that same thing today. You know, and when you go into that in First Maccabees 1, around the 41st verse, you know, that's the devil causing his craft to prosper. You know, and it says, and he shall magnify himself in his heart. You know, he became arrogant. You know, because all the lands he was conquering, and by peace shall destroy many. That's the point. Okay, and by peace shall destroy many. And I got the precept to that. I'm gonna grab it next because it talks about it in the First Maccabees. All right, so I'm gonna get what that's talking about in that next verse. But by peace he should destroy many, because I'm gonna touch briefly on it. He was telling, you know, us in Jerusalem that everything was gonna be all right. Okay, and then he ended up coming with a surprise attack. And that's what they're going to do this time. It didn't just stop back then with the Greeks. You know, that's when they came into power, and they're going to continue to be deceivers and demons all the way leading up to the end. This devil does not have your best interest. No? You know, it says he shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he should be broken without him. And it says, he shall also stand up against the prince of princes, because he came against the Lord when he did the abomination of desolation. He came against the temple. He came against the Israelites. So when he did that, that was coming against, you know, the Heavenly Father. We represent Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. You know, so him coming against the temple, setting up all those idols, putting harlots in the temple, you know, burning the scriptures, dipping them in swine broth, and doing all those things he did, of killing a lot of us, putting a lot of us in captivity. Everything he did to us was coming against the Heavenly Father. Again, because we represent Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. It says, but he shall be broken without him. It's saying that because he was stricken with a incurable disease. You know, worms was eating his ass up. The Lord tore him up, man. The Lord don't play about his people, man. The Lord had him die of like a worm disease. He was getting ate up. Said his body stunk so bad that he couldn't even deal with it. His generals couldn't deal with it. You know, so he was broken without him, because it didn't take no physical force for him to die. The Lord's stricken with a disease. Okay, and the Lord's going to take these devils out as well, man. But we're going to put you in slavery first. Okay, the next scripture I'm going to go to is in the book of Sirach. The 12th chapter and the 10th verse. Never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. You know? And it's talking about Esau. Okay, because one thing about iron is guaranteed to rust after a period of time. You know, this devil's wickedness is always going to be there. Okay, if you look at this devil's wickedness, it's always going to be there. It's symbolic. All right, even though he tried to say he's a good guy, war is always going to be in his heart. He's always going to be a deceiver. He's always going to be a devil. All right. Verse 11. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped in a looking glass, and thou shalt know that his wrath had not been altogether wiped away. You know, this devil's wickedness is always going to be there. And it says, the first part, it says, though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. You know, during the dark ages, you know, this devil was trying to make it seem like he was our friends and he was good. And what did he do? He came back out of the Caucasus Mountains and he took over once Jake taught him how to integrate in society again. Taught their ass how to take a shower. And you need to brush your teeth. Don't go 3 weeks without, you know, keeping up with your hygiene. You know, we taught this devil how to get his mind back, basically, because the Lord removed the seal from his mind. Okay, because the Lord took his understanding away. The Lord put a seal in his mind, put him in that bestial cave-like state. You know. I'm gonna go to the book of First Maccabees, and then we're gonna expound more on what it was talking about in Daniel, the 8th chapter, the 21st verse. 25th verse, Salakia. So this is First Maccabees. Okay, this is First Maccabees 1, and I'm gonna start at 29. It says, and after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector to tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came into Jerusalem with a great multitude. And the king is talking about Antiochus. Okay. Verse 30. And spake peaceably words unto them, but was all deceit. What is a devil? A deceiver. Yeah, everything is good. You know, don't worry. We got your best interests. Let's make a covenant. Let's make a deal. You know, they'll come at you with everything, you know, under the sun, man, to have you think that they're your best friend. And as you can see, this was a long time ago. This is hundreds of years ago. Nothing new under the sun. This devil has not changed. Okay. It says, for when they had given him credence, you know, they actually started to believe. Because I looked that word up. From what I remember is, you know, they actually, you know, credence is like when you actually start to believe something to be true. So, you know, we started believing the things that he was saying, like, okay, you know, you got what's best for us. You want to make a deal, X, Y, and Z, right? Because Jake is simple. And it says, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore and destroyed much people of Israel. So even though he was saying everything is good, you don't have to worry about nothing, what did he end up doing? He ended up attacking the city, man. Okay, he ended up attacking and coming against Jerusalem. You know, it's a people before it's a place. You know, so these devils are going to do the same thing in today's world. They're going to come against us when they say everything is good. Okay? It says, destroy much people of Israel was a lot of death. Verse 31. And when he had taken the spoils of the city, he had set it on fire because, you know, Antiochus had started plundering us. He had started to plunder Israel, you know, taking all of our goods on his campaigns. You know, it says, and pulled down the houses and the walls there on every side. So this was a big blow, man. And he continued to persecute us. You know, he continued to persecute us. And it goes past, you know, you'll read something like 70 AD, like the apostles go into, and Jacob just think that, you know, the Romans came against us on that day. Nah, they were persecuting us before, and it was persecution after. Just like with Antiochus. Yes, the abomination of desolation took place, right? When he did everything in the temple, but he was persecuting us before that, as you can see here, and he was persecuting us after that. I mean, not persecuting us after that because he was put to death with that incurable disease, but we were still being persecuted after. And that's the point. Okay. I'm going to get ready to close in the book of Revelation 13. And 11. Okay. And it says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. And the other beast coming up out of the earth is talking about America, Babylon the Great. And he had two horns like a lamb. You know, back then you had the plebeians and the patricians. The patricians, the Republicans, and the plebeians, the Democrats. Okay, you got the same thing today. All right? And that's what the two horns represent. It says like a lamb because they come all docile and like harmless, like they have what's in your best interest. But what does it say right here? And he spake as a dragon, going into the draconian law, the harsh measures that these devils come with. Remember, it didn't just start right now. They've been doing this since the beginning. Just like I got with the Greeks. They've been doing it all the way since way back then. Okay? They've been doing it since way back then. And what you think, you know, Jacob think that this devil would turn a new leaf And he's a good guy now. You know, he's a good guy now, and he has what's best for you. This devil is a demon. Okay, and it's gonna take Jake to see, like I said, Revelation 12:12, for Jake to wake up, to really see, what's going on, and smell the roses, like they say. Lord's will, this was an edifying lesson with that. I'm going to say shalom.